my line. I was going to tell you about us attending the same church. Good morning, Crosby High School students, faculty, and invited guests. It's my honor and pleasure to be here for this special event because I can honestly say that I would not be standing here before you today without the training and values instilled in me as a U.S. Marine. Back in 1967, when I was in high school, a friend of mine that attended school with me enlisted in the Marine Corps. After graduating from boot camp, he came back to the school dressed in the Marine Corps uniform, and he was looking fit, and the uniform, he wore the uniform well. His appearance gave me the idea to join the Corps. Several months later, a recruiter came back to our high school, looking for seniors to enlist. So I went in to talk to him. He didn't have much persuading to do because I'd already made up my mind that I was going to enlist. Not only did I wanted to look nice in the Marine Corps uniform, the fighting was going on in Vietnam, and I wanted to fight for the country. Before going into the Marine Corps, I did not have much ambition. The sense of teamwork, self-confidence, and pride of the country because I could not see beyond working in the fields of South Carolina. While in training, I was taught never to quit. The three core values, honor, courage, and commitment, make up the bedrock of the character of each individual Marine. They are the foundation of the course. These three values, handed down from generation to generation, have made the U.S. Marines the warrior elite. The U.S. Marine Corps, the most respected and revered fighting force on earth. Our motto was "can do." That was a great mantra because if I say I can, I will, and if I say I can't, I won't. Either way, I'm going to be right. In training, discipline and obeying orders was stressed on a daily basis. The love of God, country, and the Marine Corps, in that order, was instilled in us on a daily basis. Being in the Marine Corps taught me the value of being fit, not only physically, but spiritually and mentally. Upon graduating from boot camp, I was selected as the outstanding member of my platoon. I was meritoriously promoted, given a year's subscription to a Leatherneck magazine, and the dress school uniform. I was sent to Vietnam in January of 1968. After being wounded, as Lindsay mentioned, I was sent to Charleston Naval Hospital, where I stayed for about a year. Coming home was different because unlike the prior wars and conflict, the conflict in Vietnam was unpopular. We could not let anyone know that we were there because we would be ridiculed. Some returning men were spat on while wearing their military uniforms. Most would take their uniforms off before leaving the airports. Probably some of the students probably wouldn't be aware of that because they weren't born at the time. But many men that fought in Vietnam self-medicated. They had been through and seen a lot of horrible things in country, as we call Vietnam. Several years after the war in Vietnam, we were given a welcome home parade. Many vets did not attend because they thought it was too little, too late. I refused to let the hardships of Vietnam and the negative treatment that I received in the States get me down. If you're going through hell, keep going. After being medically discharged from the Marines, I was relocated to New York. A lot of companies were not hiring us Vietnam veterans. They blamed the war on us and called us baby killers. After looking for work in the classified for an extended period of time, no one would hire me. So I decided to go door to door. I took the train over to Manhattan and I went door to door to door to door after door for a long period of time. No one would hire me. Finally, I went into a bank, manufacturing trust company. I had an interview with the personnel officer, and after the interview, he told me to go in to see the medical doctor, which was located on the first floor of the premises. So I went in, and the doctor told me to strip down to my underwear and sit on the examination table, which I did. As I was sitting on the table, he was writing notes. And when he finished, he turned around and looked at me, and he saw the scars that I had from Vietnam. I was hit 5 times. So he said, "Where did you get those scars?" So I told him that I was a Marine and I was wounded fighting in Vietnam. So he told me, he said, "Get off of the table and get dressed." So I said to myself, here we go again. I'm being kicked out. As I was about to leave his office, he said, "If you're good enough to go to Vietnam, you're good enough to work here." That was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. The never quit attitude that I gained in the Marine Corps has prevailed. Don't quit before the miracle happens. At the bank, I worked my way up to supervisor, and I attended college at night. In 1978, I joined the New York City Fire Department. A lot of veterans, military veterans, join outfits like the police and fire department because they're paramilitary and we can still perform somewhat as if we're still in the military. The first day at my firehouse, I was sitting at the table in the kitchen talking to a fire officer and other members. The lieutenant was asking me some questions and he discovered that I was a Marine and had fought in Vietnam. He slapped the table and said, "You're in." After being in the department for several years, I had one of my Marine Corps documented. I needed one of my Marine Corps documented reproduced. So we took the fire truck to the office building where a lithographer was located. I gave the document to the lithographer, and after reading it, he looked up at me and said, "You mean to tell me I have a Marine from Vietnam on the 9th floor in my building?" The people's perception of us non-vets had finally changed, so I had to adjust my attitude from one of "they don't care" to one of "they care." When you come to a fork in the road, take it. The Marine Corps training has kept me going in the fire department. When the World Trade Center was bombed in 1993, I walked up over 100 flights of stairs, and my company did. I was mentally and physically exhausted, but my Marine Corps trainer would not allow me to quit until the job was done. In the Corps, we were told never to let our minds control us. It was stressed that when our minds tell us we can't do anymore, there's always some energy left, so keep at the task at hand. We did rescue we took thousands of people, hundreds of people from elevators and trapped in offices. And one of the most interesting rescues was a young lady who was pregnant at the time. We're still friends today. A year after the collapse, the Montel Williams show, or a show titled "Where Are They Now?" got wind of it, so they wanted to film us. And the producer we were at Gerald's house, the producer was in the room with her. And when he finished filming her, he came back out to the living room where I was sitting, and he looked at me, and he said, "Wow." So I was like, What happened? What's going on?" So he said, "I'm not going to tell you. You'll see when the movie comes out." When the movie came out, Geraldine said that she was on the floor and she thought she was dying, and she prayed to her dead father for help. And she didn't realize it at the time, but after reading the periodicals sometime later, she discovered that I was a Marine from Vietnam, and her father was a veteran from World War II. And as she was praying, I walked in at that exact moment, and it was as if her father sent me to help her. On 9/11, when the tower was collapsing around me, I thought I was going to die. My shoulder was dislocated, and I was on my hands and knees waiting for the building to crush me. When the EMS finally got me to the hospital, I went into the emergency room. The doctor told me, "Clarence," he said, "we will treat you."